Joining us now is GOP frontrunner, New Hampshire primary winner, and he's leading in the polls in South Carolina, Donald Trump. How are you?
Hello, Sean. How you doing?
I'm good. How's
good.
Things? You're in South Carolina today, I assume?
I am. I've made 2 speeches. I'm all over the place, and I'm hopping out now. We're going to do another one in about 10 minutes, but I wanted to call you and say hello. Thanks,
No,
Sean.
I appreciate it. And look, the latest polls have you, the PPP poll has you at 35, Cruz and Rubio at 18.
Right.
The next poll has you, the South Carolina House GOP poll has you at 33, Cruz 14, Rubio 14, Bush 13. The Gravis poll has you at 37, and Cruz 23, Rubio 19, and Bush 9. So things are going pretty well. How do you feel about things?
I feel good. I think I did a good job at the debate. I had no choice but to be sort of tough because, they were coming from every angle. So, we have to be a little bit strong with that stuff. They were coming at me from every which way, and I think I did a really good job. I got good reviews on the debate. A lot of people thought it was a little bit tough, but I thought you had to be tough. You can't be weak. We have enough weak people in this country right now, frankly, and it really, especially in terms of our leadership. So I think the debate worked out well, and these polls came out just after the debate. I guess a couple of them. I think all of them came out pretty much after the debate. And
well, these polls are all Tuesday and Monday, so they're all post-debate.
Right. That's great. Well, that's good. That's a good sign.
Let me ask you 2 things that came up in the debate, and I think this is kind of a sore spot for people, and they've written me about it, and I want to give you some time to talk about it a little bit. Two close friends of mine disagreed with me on the Iraq War. One was Pat Buchanan. He'll join us later. And the other was
a great guy, by the way.
He is a great guy. I like
Pat Buchanan. He's such a great guy. Go ahead.
We had a knockdown, drag-out fight one day on this radio program. It was a classic. And the other was you. And I've always loved your idea and even agreed with it the first time you said it to me many, many years ago about we ought to be paid for these conflicts. So that's not where the disagreement was. But some people felt like you were going conspiratorial, suggesting that they knew that there were no weapons of mass destruction.
No, I don't have, I can't tell you that. I can only tell you that getting into the war was a disaster, in terms of the war, because there's 2 elements, that and also, the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into the war was a terrible, terrible mistake. And everybody admits that. Even Bush admitted that at the end. Took him 5 days to get it out. He went back to his different people that he hires, and they eventually convinced it was a bad thing. But the war is a bad thing. And if you think of it, the migration, all of the things that are happening now were because of that mistake. And then I have to say, Obama got out of it in the worst possible manner. He could have done it in a way that would have been far superior. So he really was terrible, but he got it. As far as the World Trade Center is concerned, the World Trade, Bush a number of times said, my brother kept the safe. And I said, that's okay. Let him keep saying it. But, one day I said, look, the World Trade Center came down in the middle of his, during his presidency. And that's not keeping us safe. That's like saying, and I gave the example yesterday at a press conference, that's like we lose 19 runs in the first inning, but after that we played very well. The World Trade Center came down. So I talked to him about that. And a lot of people understand that. And I'm not blaming people. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying that was the greatest tragedy ever. And, of course, the war, it's really too bad that we went into the war, Sean. If we didn't
but
go
you
into
agreed
it,
once we go in, we go. In other words, we had Ramadi, Fallujah, Mosul, and Tikrit. You agree once we're in there.
Yeah, once we go in, you're going to win. But, we shouldn't have gotten in. But once we go in, and we certainly should not have gotten out the way Obama did, where he announced a specific date, and then he didn't leave any troops in, and it was over. And, Iran is taking over Iraq as sure as you're sitting there. I mean, Iran is just taking over with the
scary,
oil,
right?
And everything else. It's horrible. I mean, if you think of Iran, think of them as a stock. Take a look at Iran. We give them $150 billion for nothing.
Unreal.
They have tremendous latitude to do what they want to do, and then on top of it, they're going to get Iraq, and they've been fighting for Iraq for years and years, and they would have never been able to do it, because we decimated the army, the Iraqi army, and it's a very, very sad set of circumstances. But
I want to play something for you because
go ahead.
And it's difficult to hear. It's a speech that Bill Clinton gave in Long Island, where he admits that he had the opportunity to get bin Laden. He says, and then he admitted, and you had pointed out bin Laden almost before anybody. And he admits on the tape that, yeah, I was offered him. I know he wanted to bring us harm, and there was no legal justification to bring him here, so I begged the Saudis to take him, and they couldn't take him because he was a political hot potato. Let me play this for you.
Okay. Mr. bin Laden used to live in Sudan. He was expelled from Saudi Arabia in 91, and he went to Sudan. And we did it. When the Sudanese wanted America to start dealing with them again, they released him. At the time, 96, he had committed no crime against America, so I did not bring him here because we had no basis on which to hold him. So we knew he wanted to commit crimes against America. So I pleaded with the Saudis to take him because they could have, but they thought it was a hot potato. They didn't, and that's why I wound up in Afghanistan.
You lost friends on 9/11. I lost friends on 9/11.
Right.
That makes my blood boil.
I know. He could have taken him out, and I've heard the tape. Actually, I've heard it.
Yeah.
It almost has to be transcribed because it's not very good, but it's perfect. He should have done it. Now, the CIA and our various agencies weren't getting along too well, and they weren't talking like they should. And, there were a lot of problems there, too. But maybe more importantly, Clinton should have been able to take him out. I wrote about bin Laden 2 years, in the America We Deserve. And I'm not a politician. I'm just somebody that finds this stuff very interesting over the years. And I wrote about bin Laden 2 years before he knocked out, in my book, 2 years before he knocked down the World Trade Center. I said, we better look for him because I saw him and I read about him and I said, this is a bad dude. We better do something. And you'd almost say, well, if I know about him, certainly Clinton, who turned out knew about him, and maybe Bush should have known about him a little bit more. So it's just one of those things. It's a very, very sad set of circumstances, certainly.
Things are getting pretty nasty. By the way, every election cycle, I know that my audience expects it because I tell them what to expect, and as much as I've seen this rodeo many times.
Right.
And it always gets very heated in South Carolina. It's getting heated again. And one of the biggest charges that your opponents are making against you is that you're not a conservative. What I want to do is just tell me the areas where you think you're a conservative and conservative things you do. Like, for example, you mentioned justices, the wall.
Right.
So give me like your list.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Sean, I'm the only one that even mentioned the name of two justices, highly conservative people. As you know, I mentioned their names during the debate. Nobody else did. And these are highly respected people, very conservative. I mean, the ideal would be Scalia, if we could get somebody in the exact mold of Scalia. He was fantastic as a judge, perfect in terms of what we all would like and what we represent. But there's nobody more conservative when it comes to, as an example, the Second Amendment than I am. You've heard my speeches, and there's nobody that believes in it more than I do. There's nobody more conservative in getting rid of Obamacare than I am. It's going to be repealed and replaced. There's nobody more conservative in the military. We're going to make it bigger, better, stronger, and nobody's going to mess with us. We're going to take care of our vets beautifully.
By the way, did you see the story today? Calls to VA suicide hotline go to voicemail. Top fold of USA Today. Can you believe that?
I'm not surprised to hear it. It's a horrible thing. Horrible thing. What's going on with the with the vets? The Veterans Administration is a corrupt agency, and it's disgraceful what's going on. And I'm going to fix it. And by the way, you see it. I have such support with the vets. I have more support with the vets than anybody. And I give them millions and millions of dollars. I raised a tremendous amount of money. We've already paid out more than $3 million of it, and I think more than that even. And, from the debate night where I raised all that money. Yeah. Anyway, nobody's stronger or more conservative on the borders than I am, because you look at the borders, and nobody has the kind of dialogue or the kind of anything else having to do with the borders. I'm going to build a wall. Nobody else talks about building the wall. Now a couple of people are saying we're going to build a wall. They weren't saying that a month ago and 2 months ago. I've been saying it forever. In fact, Sheriff Joe Arpaio endorsed me. Sarah Palin endorsed me. Jerry Falwell Jr. endorsed me. I have the best endorsement. I have these incredible endorsements and very conservative endorsements. So, look, I don't think anybody has my credentials, but at the same time, I'm a common sense conservative. Mm-hmm. When they talk about, as an example, eminent domain, we have to build roads, we have to build highways, we have to build pipelines. If it's the case of the Keystone Pipeline, the whole thing is based on eminent domain. In fact, in the prospectus for the Keystone Pipeline, they talk about it. Now, I would make a much better deal with the Keystone Pipeline. I'd approve it, but I would make a much better deal than the government, than any of these politicians would make. because they don't know about deals and they don't know how to make the right deal. But we'd get the Keystone Pipeline approved, we'd get the jobs, etc. But we'd make a much better deal because the deal is no good. The deal that even the pro people, the deal is no good. But they need eminent domain on that. So the point is that I'm a very conservative person, but I'm also common sense, Sean.
And you want to balance the budget. Do you think you can get us there?
Totally balance the budget, yes. If it can be done easier. I even like your penny plan that you love so much. Mm-hmm. I like the penny plan. I mean, why can't they do that? But the penny plan is a terrific plan.
You know, it's so simple. I mean, I always tell people, if I can say it in less than 10 seconds, you cut 1 penny out of every dollar every year for 6 years and you balance your budget. What's so hard about that?
And it almost seems impossible that you can't do even better than that. You want to know the truth.
You actually can. You can make it 2 cents.
I agree. Well, you want to put some additional money into the military.
Yeah, I agree with that, too.
You want to get rid of the Common Core entirely, and I'm certainly conservative on that, but Common Core goes. And you'll save money and you have much better education.
Would you send the money back to the states on education?
Yeah, I'd let the states take care of it because that's the way it should be done. And the states, it'll be much, much better. Look, you know, right now we're laughed at. Our education, we spend more per pupil than anybody else in the world. More per pupil by far, not even close. And yet we're number 30 in the world.
Would you make it a goal to be energy independent, and how many years do you think it would take if you are?
Totally. Well, we're not that far off right now. And, of course, we send all our coal to China. You know, you look at how much coal we send to China. They burn it. We can't. You know, there is such a thing as clean coal. As you know, they have tremendous technology right now. But we don't, you know, the coal people are being put out of business totally. And yet the coal is being sent to China. So China's burning the coal, and they don't clean it. So it's a terrible thing that's happening to our country.
The last time I talked to you, you said you were leaning more and more towards healthcare savings accounts. Where are you on that?
I like healthcare savings accounts, but we have to get rid of the lines between the states. There's no competition. Sean, I'm in many states. And if I want to bid in New York, if I want to bid in Florida, I mean, the competition is so little. That's because all of these guys running for office are taken care of by the insurance companies.
So in other words, like if I live in New York and there's a good plan that I want in Alabama, I should be able to, those companies in Alabama should be able to get my business.
Well, or the people the companies in Alabama should be able to come into New York and bid.
No. Yeah, I agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
And what about people that like leave their job? You include portability in that?
Portability is absolutely. You can do that. You can add many things that you don't have now. I mean, Obamacare is a disaster. Plus, they force things down your throat that you'll never use. You know, you have things that you're paying for that you'll never use. So you don't want that stuff. So you'll have a better plan at much less money, a much better plan.
You know, it's amazing. Like, for example, young people, if they had a high deductible and catastrophic care, because they're not likely to get sick, then they pay a much lower premium. They have a little higher deductible, but if they have a, God forbid, cancer, a car accident, or a young heart attack in their youth, they're totally taken care of with catastrophic plan, and they save money all those years.
Right, absolutely. No, there's so many things you can do. And you remember, look, you say it all the time, but I think it was 28 times that Obama said you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. I mean, it was a total fraud.
And save $2,500 a year.
Right. So,
all right, so things are a little rough on the campaign. I'm going to see you down in Charleston for TV on Thursday. We look forward to seeing you.
Good. I look forward to it. No, the campaign's going well, though. I mean, the polls look good. The new polls are coming out. I guess they have a couple of big ones coming out tonight.
Do you do your own polling, too, or no?
I don't. Oh, why should I? You know, I mean, some of these guys do. They spend a fortune on polling. And I say, why don't you just wait for the networks to do it? They spend so much money. No, but I understand big polls are coming out tonight, so let's see what they are.
All right, Donald Trump, we'll see you Thursday in Charleston, and, of course, Saturday night, the South Carolina primary. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
That's going to be a big night. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sean.